AI has never knocked on, come to a business and knocked on the door and said, "Hi, I'd like that person's job and I'd like that person's job," right? AI is not coming, it's not embodied, it's not looking for a job. And so the real question of whether or not AI and how AI will be implemented inside of an organization comes down to the leadership and the decisions that leaders are making. The biggest misconceptions that business leaders have around artificial intelligence often lie in the idea that data is the most important aspect of artificial intelligence. They've been told this by folks that are trying to sell data as part of their solution or part of their platform, which is very understandable that that's what they would focus on. But when it comes to artificial intelligence, actually the most important element is expertise. The whole goal of AI is to recreate semblances of expertise that can be applied inside of a business context. And so data, yes, is an asset that can be a part of that. But if you start with your data as opposed to starting with your expertise, it's sort of like reading the exhaust fumes of a car and trying to figure out where it should go next, as opposed to first starting with your experts and determining what is it that we want to do with our business? How are we going to apply intelligence, both human intelligence and machine intelligence, to be able to do that effectively? And then be able to build the actual solutions and products that you want to build to create value for your customers. The way that organizations can implement AI in a way that empowers their workforce rather than replaces their workforce is a question I get all of the time. And I think it's a really important one. And what I'd say first and foremost is that cutting costs with AI is sort of like cave painting with AI, and that the real opportunity with artificial intelligence and these advanced technologies that we have at our disposal today is not just to cut costs on whatever existing value we've already created, but instead to raise and increase top line revenue and add new value, create new value based on your core competency. And so that's the first thing I say about how to double down on applying AI in a way that empowers your workforce. The second I would say is that it's really a leadership question. People sometimes say, well, is AI coming for my job? And the thing I always remind them of is AI has never knocked on, come to a business and knocked on the door and said, "Hi, I'd like that person's job and I'd like that person's job," right? AI is not coming, it's not embodied, it's not looking for a job. And so the real question of whether or not AI and how AI will be implemented inside of an organization comes down to the leadership and the decisions that leaders are making. And so I always remind folks, if you're wondering how your AI is going to impact your own work, look to your leadership. If they're the kind of leadership that say, hey, as we look at this at this era of technology and AI that we're now entering, and we're planning on using the same values that we always have, and we want to augment and extend the amount of value that we can create with AI, you're in a good place. For the future of work, the biggest changes that businesses should prepare for, I would say one of the biggest ones is agentic intelligence. So we're moving past the era of digital transformation into the era of autonomous transformation. Well, not where organizations autonomously transform, but where the mile marker has moved from going from analog to digital now toward autonomous. And by that, I mean not fully autonomous, just like a business isn't fully digital. There's still analog assets and there's people involved in every business. The same will be true with autonomous as organizations move toward more and more autonomy. And so one of the biggest changes is agentic intelligence. And so when you think about the work that you do today, there's most organizations have a lot of robotic process automation. They have different digital processes and that where you assign a task and you start something and then multiple different things happen online just automatically. And so that's going to come to a new level when we have agentic intelligence, where instead of just everything being automatically started by us or by something that's triggered based off a certain condition. There will be AI agents that will be inside of our organizations that will be able to sense when things are going on or when different dynamics are changing, and will be able to engage us. And over the weekend they can come to us first thing in the morning on Monday with a report of these are all the different changes that have been noted. We've analyzed this research question that you asked us on Friday. Here's all these different things that we recommend, and recommended actions and likely outcomes based on all of them. And we'll be able to approve or say, no, actually, will you dig deeper into that? And so that's one of the biggest shifts. And I think another big shift that's coming is that the way that we work between organizations is going to completely shift. Because today, if I wanted to check, let's say I'm a manufacturer and someone says, well, can you manufacture us this many parts, of this product by this date? That depending on the size of the order, I might have to check upstream with my, and call around and say, okay, can you get us this much of the raw material for us to be able to manufacture this by this date? And it can be very time intensive to be able to make all those different phone calls and interact between organizations in an entire value stream. So in the era of agentic intelligence, that can be answered in milliseconds, because an agent on behalf of my organization can interact with agents on behalf of my suppliers, and they can, in a matter of, like I said, milliseconds, be able to actually answer the question and come back to the customer and say, yes, that's something that we absolutely can do. What do I hope that folks take away from my speeches? I would say that the biggest thing that my highest level goal when I get on stage and pick up a microphone or speak into a lavalier is that I want people to walk away with value and with things that they can actually leverage that day, that they can immediately start doing to be able to get on an even better path toward creating more value in their work. So my approach to that is to provide context and educate and inform, share new ideas and frameworks that will sort of surprise. Generally, folks find them surprising and realize, I never thought about that before. And then be able to give them tactical, tangible steps that they can take screenshots of, or send the deck after, that they can then walk away and say, okay, that is really going to help me as I think through what is my vision in the era of AI, what is my strategy and my way of creating strategy and my process for making decisions, and then how am I going to lead and manage and leverage storytelling to be able to actually effectively ignite change in the direction that I want it to go.